milkmaid sundresses, trad wives, a return to a traditional view of masculinity. All of these things have one thing in common. They're becoming extremely popular with young people. I am seeing constantly these weird off-brand traditional values being fully embraced by young people, and it's really interesting. So in this video, we're going to discuss these values that are being embraced. We're going to talk about a couple of indicators as to why these traditional values might be becoming super popular for young people, and we're also going to address, well, why are people leaning towards this, and what roughly percentage of people are starting to lean on these traditional values. So, well, let's jump right into it here. I want to start by saying that recently I have been bombarded with videos of women wearing these cute sundresses, these milkmaid sundresses. That's become a trend. Trad wives has become a trend. For those of you who don't know, that stands for traditional wife. It's where a woman takes on traditional gender roles and is stay-at-home homemaker, pretty much. And I've also seen young men starting to lean on this traditional masculinity where their strong work ethic, want to build a family, have children, get married. I've started to see a huge resurgence in these types of values in young Americans, and good, bad, or indifferent. We're going to talk about that. I'm pretty neutral on it. Some good, some bad. But very interestingly, you normally expect this from the older crowd. Like, people who are 50 and above normally really rely heavily on these traditional values. People over 60, over 70, you know they rely on these traditional values. That's like, that's core to who they are as a group of people. But you don't normally expect these kinds of traditional values from younger people. Like, people born after 1989, you don't normally expect these types of behaviors, but here we are, and I want to talk about a few of the reasons why. So the first and really biggest reason, I think, is that I feel like a lot of young people believe that the system has just completely failed them. I think that they have very little faith in the US government and US political systems because in certain ways, I think that they have failed younger people. Like the older Gen Zs and younger millennials, I think feel extremely failed and pacified by the political systems. And so I started doing a little bit of research on this to find out if this could be considered a key indicator. So I wanted to establish a baseline, first of all, of do younger people have little faith in government institutions? And actually, yes, they have extremely little faith in government institutions. So according to Pew Research, the percentage of people who say that they have a lot or some confidence in the future of US political systems, when broken down into the 18 to 29 age group, you're looking at, let's see here, a nice healthy 31% of people age 18 to 29 saying that they have a lot or some confidence in the future of US political systems. And then if you stretch that over to a separate question, only 7% of people age 18 to 29 say that they think the political system is working extremely well or very well in the United States, which means that an extremely large majority of people age 18 to 29 in the US don't have faith in the current system and how it's working, or the future of the current system and how they predict that it will work. And that's really interesting. So a couple of reasons why that might be happening. Why do young people have such little faith in the systems that have been established in the United States for so many years? So I actually feel, being part of this age group, that there are a couple of key reasons why people have so little faith in the system. So one is that the younger millennials, older Gen Z folk are starting to get to the point where they're brushing on 30. here. Nobody likes to hear that, but we are. And part of that is that you start wanting to do things like settle down, purchase a home, be economically and financially stable, have a good job that's at least not horrible. All of these different things that come with growth and maturing in life and becoming older. And what we've been told our whole lives, this age group, is you got to go to college, you got to get good grades, you got to go do this and work hard and get your college degree, and then when you come out of school, you'll be everyone's boss because you're educated, you're smarter than everyone else. But the reality of the situation that a lot of older Gen Z, younger millennials are starting to run into is that they can't afford to purchase homes. Their degrees were extremely expensive because most of us are middle class or lower class, and we had to take on debt in order to go through our college programs. And then the third thing is we're barely able to even afford to put food on the table because inflation is skyrocketed so high on things like just fruits and vegetables in general. And then on top of that, we're starting to see people really struggle a lot with paying back their student debt. And even more importantly than that, as if that wasn't, all of these four things weren't enough of a slap in the face, we're starting to see that your degree doesn't really matter at the bachelor's level anymore, at least as much as it used to. A lot of people are starting to come out of college with bachelor's degrees in strong fields and really struggle to find a job. And it has nothing to do with them, because they want somebody with 5 years of work experience for their entry-level position. And this has become a situation that's endemic for the older Gen Z, younger millennial, who is walking around in America today. And naturally, this will lead to people having a negative view of how systems are functioning because they can't afford anything, it's not benefiting them. And how this relates back to the traditional values, to tie a nice bow on all this, is that when people are in times of trouble, you typically see them lean back on more traditional values. And that's exactly why I think that this is starting to become a thing. This is why the trust in government and systems is extremely important for this group of people. They don't have it, and therefore they see this as a time of troubles. Even though, according to multiple different economic indicators, we're in the process of an economic boom right now. But most people age 18 to 29, they aren't feeling the benefit of those gains, of this boom, because they don't own a house. They haven't really had the ability to save up and invest in the stock market as well as their peers had at this age. And they really haven't been able to participate as they've been told that they would have been able to. They haven't been able to get the really high paying job with the college degree that they were told and promised that they would get the high paying job with, because it turns out that there's only so many of those high paying jobs, and it turns out that they typically want somebody with 10 or more years of experience. So most people aren't really excited to wait 10 years at the lower level position to get the job that they thought they were going to get the second that they graduated. And this just compounds over time and eventually leads to a lot of really disgruntled people. And like I said, in times of trouble, people lean on traditional values. People lean on the values of marriage and kids and, I mean, honestly, religion, but we're not bringing religion into this video because that's not part of the topic, I don't think. And it's just interesting to me the way that these times of trouble have been perceived, despite being in an economic boom by most indicators that economists will use. And it's just interesting to me for a second reason, which is what I really want to focus on in this video. And that's the way that this has become such a polarizing topic for younger people. I will sit there on TikTok and I'll scroll and I'll find one video where you will find a young woman and she's talking about how she wants to dress more conservatively, dress more modestly, how the milkmaid sundress is her style, and she finally feels like something that fits her aesthetic is popular, and she's really happy about that, and talking about being a traditional wife and why she thinks that's so valuable and that she enjoys it so much. And then you'll flip to the next video and it'll be a young woman talking about how there is no good thing about traditional values and how we need to do away with every single aspect of traditionalism and traditional values. And it's the same thing with young men too, not to point out just young women here. Young men are also having this very, very polarizing approach to traditional values where you'll find one video and it's, oh, you've got to be tough and you've got to put in hard work. And if you put in the hard work, you'll get the money, you'll get the high paying job, you'll get the wife, you'll get the kids, you'll get the house, learn to build shit. Ugh, traditional masculine values. And then you'll flip to the next video and it's a dude who's like, it's okay to be weak. It's okay. All masculinity is toxic. And it just seems to me like very few people, at least very few people who are passionate enough to make content, fit in the middle here. It seems like everything that I see is one extreme or the other with young folks. I've seen you either embrace the traditionalism and love it, or you're against it and you hate it and it's nothing but modernity, and if you're not half naked, it's terrible. And those are seem like the only two opinions that you're allowed to have that are considered acceptable. You can find a group who will welcome you for your traditional values, and you can find a group who will welcome you for being more modern with your values, even though I hate using that word in this context. More modern with your values. But if you're somebody in the middle who leans on some traditional values and some modern values, honestly, it seems like you're left out as a young person. You might feel like there's nobody who agrees with you at all. But like most things, let's assume a standard distribution here where these two extremes are actually a small amount of the population and that most people actually have a mix of values. I think that we're starting to experience a situation here, or a pop-out effect with these two extremes, because the people who are on the two extremes are the only people who are actually passionate enough about these topics to make a video. Somebody who doesn't really give a shit isn't going to make a video. Someone who's in the middle and not super passionate one way or the other probably isn't going to make a video about it. Sure, you might get some lunatics like me out here who are closer to the middle who will make a video about it because I just like talking about this kind of shit. But honestly, it's kind of rare to see people who won't take a solid stance one way or the other on an issue like this, traditionalism versus modernity. Just like everything else that I talk about on my channel, I think that a true balance is the real approach here. I think that all things in balance are good. However, I will say, I find the polarization disturbing. I think that we really need to stop creating, and not just in traditional and modern values, but I see a lot of young people creating very, very deep, entrenched in-group, out-group type beliefs. Like, for example, if you don't believe what I believe, go fuck yourself. I hate you. I won't even listen to another word that comes out of your mouth. And I think that this is coming from both sides of the political spectrum, from all ages, from all beliefs. I think that everyone is starting to take this belief. Even the people in the middle who might have some conservative and some liberal views. I think that on the liberal views, they create an in-group, out-group, and then on the conservative views, they'll create an in-group, out-group. And it seems to me like people are just becoming less and less and less willing to sit down and actually talk about issues and discuss them, rather than just screaming and yelling and making an enemy out of the other side. I'm starting to find it to become very rare that people are actually having a civil discussion coming from both sides of a political spectrum. And I've heard some people bring this concept up before. Well, the response that I've seen a lot of people give is, well, why would I try to have a conversation with a person? It's like comparing somebody who wants to murder babies to somebody who wants to give you free college, is one of the examples that I've heard frequently. And I think that when you make comparisons like that, I think, one, you're being purposefully antagonistic, and two, you are not growing at all as a human being. Your beliefs are not growing. You are not learning. Even if you believe that the other person is wrong, you need to have some amount of human decency and respect for the other person to listen to their opinion. And then on top of that, listening to their opinion will give you a better basis of understanding so that you can have a civil discussion with that person. So, little bit of a tangent there, but I really do think that it ties in here to the topic of these young people really embracing traditional values. It's shocking to me. And I just kind of thought it was really weird and wanted to do a cool video about it. So make sure you go ahead and leave a like. Make sure you please subscribe. And please hit the bell notification button. And more importantly than anything, please leave a comment about what you think down below. Now, as always, especially when I get into this polarizing political stuff, I will bring the hammer down on any comments that are way too ridiculous, or if people start really arguing with each other like crazy and in a not okay way, I will bring the hammer down. Keep it civil, be reasonable in my comment section, people. I don't like having to inhibit free speech, but some of you people go buck wild, and we can't have that around here, okay? So be nice to each other and actually listen to one another. That's the primary message of this video. But let me know in the comments what you think of younger people embracing these traditional values. What do you think specifically is leading to this young group of young people embracing traditional values? Do you agree with me that you think that the system has failed them and that's why this is happening? I'm really interested, to be completely honest with you. So go ahead and leave a comment, like, subscribe, bell notification. And of course, I'll see you guys again next week. Bye, everybody.